Good evening, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen. Like Professor Dorling, I too came extremely well attired. In my case, £250 worth of fine clothing. Yes, I like fine clothing. I enjoy wearing good-looking clothes, but I have absolutely no interest in owning lots of them. And I'm not very good at choosing them either. But I also hear you say, nice clothes, shame about the face. Because yes, it's not pretty, is it? And of course, really not very good looking. Could do better. Severe burns I went through at 18, and my life here in the early 70s in Oxford as a student were very, very challenging. Hundreds of thousands of pounds were spent on me by taxpayers on fantastic plastic surgeons like Nigel to get my face to look okay. But not good enough, of course, because the prevailing orthodoxy, which I had swallowed as a child, yes, I'd swallowed it completely, the prevailing orthodoxy, which I suspect we all hold, would have it that without a good-looking face, I'm doomed to three nasty effects. The first, I won't feel very good inside. The second, I won't be liked by others. And thirdly, with scars as good or as bad as mine, I'm likely to live in the shadows. I should spend a lot more on looking good. Yes, not just on the moisturizers, but perhaps even on more cosmetic surgery, brilliant as it is, or perhaps even a face transplant. We live in a culture, ladies and gentlemen, which I think has swallowed hook, line, and sinker this orthodoxy that looking good brings big rewards. It also imposes a very nasty stigma on people like me whose faces don't fit these norms of today, which I find profoundly unfair. It's a culture which we are bombarded with daily, slickly presented messages telling us why spending massively on looking good is not just good for our psyches, but it's absolutely vital for them. If we don't aspire to being spotless, wrinkle-free, ageless, really our sex lives will be poorer, our self-esteem lower, and our job and career prospects pretty much diminished. This was the orthodoxy that I had grown up with, and I think it is even more strongly conditioned into our youth today. The facts suggest that over 50,000 people in Britain choose to spend £500 million, something like that, on cosmetic surgery every year, and that across the beauty and the fashion industries, something like £70 billion a year is spent on looking good. Over £1,000 a person. Compare that with how much is spent on doing good, even on very generous assumptions about how much volunteering is worth. Yes, something like 25% of the population do volunteer. That's fantastic. And about 44% of the population give. But altogether, if you monetarize the whole lot up, it comes to something like £35 billion a year, half of what is spent on looking good. So why am I against spending of so much, and certainly any more, on looking good? I am against this for three reasons. First, because I think the link between looking good and being successful, feeling good, being loved, is far more tenuous than anybody really understands. And it's positively dangerous too. I work with a lot of psychologists, and they confirm that self-esteem and confidence are very complex and they're hard for most of us to acquire. Research suggests that parental support, academic achievement, development of skills in all sorts of things, that's what brings us self-esteem and, to some degree, confidence. There are some people for whom their self-esteem is heavily dependent on their looks. Self-confidence, too, is gained by your ability to manage other people, to deal with their comments and their criticisms. So do looks matter? Yes, of course they do. In the first 5 minutes of any new encounter, and incidentally I've been speaking for 5.5 minutes, in the first 5 minutes you will be taking me in, but as Professor Argyle of this great university told us so long ago, actually you will have been pretty much impressed with my overall appearance, my gestures, my body language, the way I speak, how loudly or how slowly or quietly, whatever. And my face will be of very little importance to you, about 4%, he estimated. Which isn't to say that looks are not important. They do matter enormously. But after those first 5 minutes, I don't think so. Sexual chemistry, it's not about some superficial stuff around the face or looking good, surely. It's a whole body, mind, spirit experience. Incidentally, the one statistic that I really do like around this subject is to go and have a look at the Hollywood divorce statistics. If you think that looking good and being happy it's a really good correlation. It's not the case. But the dangerous bit too, let us not forget. Unfortunately, we are in a culture where the overzealous search for looking good has got very dangerous consequences. We've got epidemics of eating disorders, over-exercising, body dysmorphic disorder, self-harm. They're all on the rise in our society, and they are all the results of obsessive behavior associated with the frustrated search for a perfect body. Research from Girl Guiding found that 1 in 5 girls aged from 9 to 10 said that the way they look makes them feel most upset. And 39% of girls say that they experience demeaning comments about the way they look every week. Now, these are unacceptable. I think, ladies and gentlemen, these are unacceptable social consequences of this look-good economy. We should be very careful about a culture that promotes ultra-thin models and eats lots too. We need to get a grip of this retail therapy world. So there is really something wrong with spending so much on looking good, it seems to me. But the second reason I dislike this motion is that I don't like a culture which suggests that looking good is somehow morally good too. I dislike the flip side intensely. It suggests that people who look not very good are going to be villains and unpleasant characters. But the third and most important reason why I dislike this motion and oppose it is that it, in some ghastly way, suggests that doing good is not important. Looking good distracts monies from those incredibly important causes, some of which are local, some of which are international. And if that money were put into those causes, it would create so much good. Philanthropy, sadly, is in retreat, and yet the state is also backing away. We need to galvanize our society into giving much, much more. And in the process, people will get a buzz out of it. They will feel good about it. Mr. President, I move to oppose this motion very strongly. We were all appalled.